Here's Bernie Sanders outlining the case at the People's Summit in Chicago. And, look, this is why he maintains some autonomy from the Democratic Party and why the critique is necessary. It's necessary on the merits because we actually need to address these problems because they're actually destroying American life. And they are ultimately, and in most districts that are not affluent suburban Georgia districts, mostly the best message to run on for the working class of people of all backgrounds. Here's Bernie Sanders.
Now, I am often asked by the media and others, how did it come about that Donald Trump, the most unpopular presidential candidate in the modern history of our country, won the election? And my answer is, that Trump didn't win the election. The Democratic Party lost the election. Let us be very, very clear. The current model and the current strategy of the Democratic Party is an absolute failure. This is not my opinion. This is the facts. We focus a lot on the presidential election, but we also have to understand that Democrats have lost the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate. Republicans now control almost 2/3 of the governor's chairs throughout this country. And over the last 9 years, Democrats have lost almost 1,000 legislative seats in states all across this country. Today, in almost half of the states in America, Democratic Party has almost no political presence at all. Now, if that's not a failure, if that's not a failed model, I don't know what a failed model is. The Democratic Party needs fundamental change. Fundamental change. What it needs is to open up its doors to working people and young people and all people who are prepared to fight for social and economic justice. The Democratic Party must finally understand which side it is on. And that cannot be the side of Wall Street or the fossil fuel industry or the drug companies.
So, of course, he's exactly right. And I think, the only thing that he needed to add to that is voting rights and voter suppression. That's the fulcrum at which this stuff revolves around. And obviously, Republicans have been very effective in blocking people's ability to vote. But the other thing that's important to note about that is that, look, if you're not going to acknowledge the massive structural failures of the Democratic Party, whether it's because, as in my view, in many cases, they're too far to the right, they don't have a compelling economic message, or simply because they're unclear and don't have a clear, identity, or it's voter suppression, or it's Republicans outspending them.
Or effort in districts.
What Bernie is doing there, just to be clear, is what he has been accused and will continue to be accused by disingenuous people of not doing. He connected the themes of all people, finding common cause against structural barriers to progress, fossil fuels, Wall Street. And not only is that the case, in fact, if you're serious about racial injustice, as an example, You'll know that when they gut Dodd-Frank, that's going to even more disproportionately hit people of color. You'll know that the housing crisis was a massive transfer of wealth and cancellation of wealth from all working people, but again, also disproportionately hit Black and Hispanic people because of wealth stored in home ownership. So anybody who is serious about those issues has to be serious about the economic inequality agenda that Bernie's talking about. And if you're not serious about it, you should have no comment on him not being quote unquote woke. And if you're serious about winning, you got to get real about why Democrats lose and lose and lose and lose unless they have a charismatic leader at the top of the ticket. People thought that Bill Clinton and Barack Obama had found a new governing consensus. They didn't. They found how to campaign because they're charismatic campaigners. That's it. There was nothing behind that. And we're in a time now where, from stripping away people's rights to vote and the direct neo-Confederate attack on people's rights in that fashion, the brutal attack on women's rights and women's health, the real playing for keeps that outside of all the Trump drama these people are waging. They're going to gut Obamacare. They're going to get rid of the Medicaid expansion. They are cooking up every scheme imaginable to turn us into a 21st century feudal predator state. You better be willing to fight them on all fronts. There's no accommodation for it. And the structure of that is power and income inequality as represented by that imbalance of power. And he's absolutely right about that.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos